I'm here today to answer the question, how does my pension work? Hey, my name is Michael Hollis. I'm a financial planner with Tapestry FP, where we help people make their money mean something. And we use the phrase weaving wealth with meaning to describe that. So I like to answer real questions that real people ask. So today's question comes from a friend who recently started a new position as a librarian at a local school. And I get the impression she's really on top of her finances, understands a lot of stuff, and she was still having trouble understanding her pension. So the school she works for participates in the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, called IMRF here in Illinois. And she knew that she was contributing into this plan, and a friend had told her that her employer also contributes, but she really wasn't sure how much that was, and then what that meant for her, like, does she need to be doing anything else? So I wanted to answer her question today. Pensions just aren't something that a lot of us encounter, especially if we're working for a private employer, smaller employers. We're not going to experience what a pension is like. Public employees, however, they tend to have pensions. So think of school teachers, firefighters, police officers, state employees, county employees. They're typically going to have a pension. So what I'm going to say today, I'm going to try to be general about pensions, but some of the numbers I'm going to use are specific to IMRF's Tier 2 regular pension plan, and that's the pension plan for anybody that entered that system after 2010. So I'm going to talk about three things. One, like, how does money get into the pension plan? Two, how do you qualify for a pension and what happens if you don't? And then three, how is the benefit calculated, or what are you going to get out of this? We'll also talk a little bit about what are your options for additional income to your pension. So first of all, my friend was correct. She does contribute to her pension 4.5%. And most of you who participate in a public pension, you're going to be participating as well and contributing a certain percentage of your gross income. Now, hers has a cap, so $130,000. She doesn't contribute above that amount, so it's capped at $130,000. You may have a similar thing. These contributions that she's making are pre-tax, meaning she's not paying tax on that income this year, but when she receives the pension later or takes a distribution from the pension later, she will pay income tax on that. The great thing is she's guaranteed to get those contributions back. So no matter what happens, how things work out in the end, she will get her original contributions back. But I'll mention kind of a downside of that if she doesn't qualify for a pension. Now, on the employer side, the contribution that they make is less concrete. It's not like a normal 401k plan that you and I might have where, we put 3% in, the employer matches 3%. Every year there's a calculation done by the plan administrators, and they take into consideration investment returns, the likely retirement ages of all the plan participants, the life expectancy assumptions. All these things go into a calculation, and then the people doing that math tell the employer, hey, this is how much you need to contribute to the plan to fund it 100%. Now, in Illinois, lots of pension funds are not well funded. However, IMRF is. As of the last numbers, I believe it was 96% of all benefits are fully covered going forward. So now, once contributions go in, how do you qualify to get that money as a pension? Well, that is based on earning service credits. And your service credits are going to do two things. One, qualify you for a pension, and we call that vesting. So if you reach enough service credits, you're going to vest for this pension. The other thing is it does, and I'll talk about this in a minute, is it influences how much of your income you are earning while working is replaced by your pension. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to talk about vesting. So every plan is going to be different, like I said. The IMRF plan, Tier 2 workers, they need 10 years of service credits to qualify for a pension. That gets them a pension that is guaranteed for life, and there's a survivor benefit in that. Remember, I was talking about the contributions that my friend made, well, that's 4.5%, and 3.75% of that contribution goes to her pension and 0.75% to a survivor pension. Once you have reached that 10 years, you qualify for that pension. If you don't reach 10 years of service, then you're not going to qualify for a pension, and essentially all you're going to be able to do is get back your original contribution. So if you don't work in that job for that 10 years, you can get a return of your contributions, but no interest. So that's a disadvantage to these, what they're called defined benefit plans, where you put in a certain amount, the employer funds it as well, and there's a guarantee. If you don't reach that vesting period, you're not going to, with your service credits, you're not going to receive a pension. Okay, so then how are your benefits calculated? Well, it's really made up of two components. One is, what were you earning? And every pension is a little bit different, but IMRF is based on your tier 2 workers are based on the highest 8 years of earnings. So they average your monthly earnings, the highest eight years worth of monthly earnings, and they come up with a number. And let's say that's $4,000. The other component is related to the service credits. And so the more service credits, the bigger replacement percentage of that monthly income you're going to get. So for the first 15 years in the IMRF system, and again, every pension is going to be different, so you really want to get your plan documents to know what these numbers are. But in IMRF, for the first 15 years, it's 1 2/3% for each year that you have of service. Any years after that, it's 2%, up to a maximum of 40 years, where you cap out at 75% replacement value. So for example, if you work 10 years, you're going to get 16.7% of that monthly average earnings replaced. If you get to 15 years, it's 25%, and like I said, 40 years, 75% of that. So if you worked for 40 years and your average monthly earnings were $4,000, 75%, you're going to get a $3,000 a month benefit. So what happens though if you decide to leave? Well, you can do two things. You can either leave your contributions there, or you can take them with you. Now, if you're not vested, it doesn't really matter. If you leave them there or take them, you're not going to get any interest. If you're vested and you leave them there, then you can get the pension later. The earliest you can get your pension is age 62 in tier 2, and you can wait as long as age 67. If you take it before 67, it will be reduced a little bit, similarly to how Social Security works. But if you think you're going to come back to IMRF service at some point and earn additional service credits, you may want to leave it there. But if you think you're never going to earn the 10 service credits and qualify for a pension, you're not getting any benefit by leaving it there. It's more of just a forced savings plan with a 0% return. So this isn't specific advice for you, but I'm just laying out the options so you can kind of weigh what you think you might want to do. But definitely talk with a financial planner about your specific pension, your specific situation, and what you should do if you haven't yet reached the service credits, or if you have, and whether you should leave those contributions there or not. Okay, so what about my friend's other part of her question? Like, do I need anything else? Well, what about Social Security? Social Security is another pension type system that could supplement your pension from your public work. Now, not every public pension participates in Social Security. Well, how do you know? I want you to pull out your wage statement, and when you look at it, you'll see, gross earnings, and you'll see deductions and withholdings. And if you look through the withholdings and you don't see any withholdings for Social Security, that means you don't participate in the Social Security system for that job. Now, if you do see Social Security withholdings, that means you do participate and you're earning credits in the Social Security system to qualify for a benefit. IMRF, they do participate in Social Security, so you know that in retirement, if you qualify for a pension, you qualify for Social Security, you're going to have a certain amount of guaranteed income. So how do you know if you need something more than these guaranteed income sources? Well, you're going to need to know the total amount of those income sources, and you're going to need to know what your expenses are going to look like in retirement so you can figure out what the gap is remaining, if any. And if there is a gap, and there likely would be a gap, depends on how you live and what your expenses are, but you have a number of options. So if you're an IMRF participant, there's an option called voluntary additional contributions. And there's different rules around this, but it essentially works as another savings plan with a relatively set investment return. So you're not participating in the stock market or like that. You're participating in the pension plan, but with this optional money. And no matter what, you're going to get your contributions and you'll get your interest out of that. You can turn that into a full distribution at some point or an additional pension. So many pension systems will have something like that. So again, what you're going to want to do is get your pension plan documents to find out. The other option could be, and this wouldn't be provided through your pension system likely, it would be provided through the employer, but they may make other retirement type plans available to you, say a 403B or a 457 plan. I'm not going to get into the details of what those plans are, but your employer might have additional options for you to participate. Now, the difference between what's going on with the pension and what's going on with those plans is the pension is taking on all the investment risk, and they're returning to you a rate of return, but the investment decisions and risk is not on you. You're going to get this pension, you're going to get this stream of payments, whereas with things like a 403B, 457, the investment risk is being transferred to you. You're picking the investments, you're responsible for how that account performs and what the end balance is going to be. So you just have to be thinking about what are my options and which one's going to best get me to my goal. There is a third option, and that would be an individual retirement account. So as long as you meet the earnings limits for making contributions, and that would be you have earned income and you're not over, say, 150 or so, or I'm sorry, 250,000 or so of income married filing jointly this year, you can contribute into a Roth IRA, for example. And that, again, that would be your own account. You have great flexibility, lots of options to choose from. But again, you take on the investment risk. But that option could be another way for you to make up that gap between your expected guaranteed income and your anticipated expenses. So what I want you to do before you really start digging into this is go to your pension administrator website, create an account, get logged in, and you'll find calculators and other resources there. There's a video that goes into the details of your pension plan more specifically. And so lots of other pension systems are going to have great resources like that. So get that account created. You're going to also want to look at beneficiaries because pension plans are not just retirement benefits. Retirement benefits get all the glory, but you have oftentimes disability benefits, death benefits, survivor benefits, maybe healthcare benefits that might make a subsidized plan available to you later on in retirement. So just know that your pension is more than the retirement benefits, even though that's what we focused on today. So I hope this helps you know more how to figure out what your options are, because when you know what your options are with your pension, you can know whether or not you need something else to supplement it. And that's why I help people thinking about retirement feel comfortable spending their money. If you have any other questions about how your pension works or what other options are available to you to meet your retirement income needs, please feel free to email questions@tapestryfp.com or go to our website and submit a question there.